Here's your WSGW weatherology forecast. Patchy frost possible in spots early today. Otherwise, sunny skies, light winds. Highs top out near 71 degrees. Tonight, clear to partly cloudy skies. Winds remain light and lows fall into the middle 40s. Wednesday, lots more sunshine. Mild. Highs warm into the lower 70s. Winds west-southwest, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Wednesday night, it becomes mostly cloudy with light winds. Lows drop to 50. And then Thursday, partial sunshine is possible at times, chance for afternoon showers, and highs reach 69. I'm Phil Jensko with the WSGW Weatherology Forecast. Right now it's 40.
Now, the only local radio talk show offering you the chance to ask your questions and express your opinions from around your block to around the world. The Art Lewis Show is on 100.5 and 790 WSGW and online, WSGW.com.
Good morning and welcome to the Art Lewis Show. I am your host today, Larry Rodarte, and I'm filling in for Art today. I hope everyone is feeling good this October autumn day as the leaves are changing and the weather has cooled down. This hour, we're going to talk about an upcoming event at Saginaw Valley State University, but I wanted to mention that yesterday, Saginaw Valley State University President Donald Bashan was honored, as you heard in the newscast earlier. He has demonstrated a long-standing commitment to education, the university, and health and well-being throughout his tenure at Saginaw Valley State University, which includes more than 8 years of service as the fourth president. Well, yesterday, to honor his service, the Health and Human Service Building at SVSU was formally renamed Bashan Hall during a 10 a.m. ceremony. Isn't that something? Well, we want to wish congratulations to President Don Bashan. We are currently celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month across the Great Land, and my first guest today is Ernesto Morales. I call him Todd, but he is Dr. Ernesto Morales, who is a filmmaker, an activist for social justice, an author who is at the faculty at Prescott College in Arizona. So he is waking up pretty early this morning to be on the Art Lewis Show with me, and he is a Michigan native and attended Michigan State University. And on October 19th, his documentary entitled War of the Flea will be featured at SVSU's Malcolm Field Theater Performing Arts Center at 7 p.m. To give a brief synopsis of the film, it is a real David versus Goliath story of Chicano studies at MSU Chicano students at MSU who forced a major university to establish a Chicano Latino studies program. Today, we are going to hear all about it. Please help me welcome Dr. Ernesto Todd Morales. Good morning, Todd. How are you?
I'm doing good. You're right. It is early here.
It's really early, right? And I want to thank you for getting up at 6 a.m. to be with us here in Michigan. And I'm so excited to have you on here because I know that you have worked on this for years. Can you tell me how long it actually has been that you've worked on War of the Flea?
Well, it kind of depends on where you point the start date to, but officially we began filming in 2016, shortly after the presidential election took place. But unofficially, I would say we've probably been working on it since the beginning in some ways. Diana Rivera, who was a historian at she's a librarian, at Michigan State University, but who's in charge of the Cesar Chavez collection for years and years, played a huge role in making sure that the materials that were produced by that movement were saved and that they were archived. And so without that work, this would have been a lot harder to do. I don't think it would have been as rich, wouldn't have as much depth.
Yeah, let's hear it for Diana Rivera. She was one of my counselors back at MSU when I attended way back in the 80s, and she's from the Pinconning area, her family. So
That's right.
Congratulations on having her involved because I know how thorough she can be. Todd, tell me a little bit about how you got involved with this whole War of the Flea movement, if you will, and tell us a little bit about who Todd Morales actually is and where you're from.
Yeah. Well, I'm from Lansing, Michigan. I grew up there. I was born in Charlotte, but I moved to Lansing when I was very young with my family. I was probably about 5 years old. So I grew up in Lansing. Um, so I was always in the shadow of Michigan State. I was in Upward Bound when I was in high school, Upward Bound under Glenda Hammond. Um, and so, the campus wasn't necessarily foreign to me. Um, but I didn't go to school right after high school. Actually, I started a family quite young, but realized quickly that I didn't really have a skill set to support a family and wasn't really equipped to do some of the work that the people around me were doing. And when I say wasn't equipped, I never really able to figure out how to read a tape measure. And so I decided instead to go back to school. School was always something that I had been pretty good at. I first went to Lansing Community College, and as they talk about in the movie, it was there while I was attending Lansing Community College that the police murdered a young man named Cipriano Torres one night in November. And that was really kind of my introduction, and I think a lot of people's introduction into community activism. And this was back in like 1991 that this happened. From there, myself and the other people that I was at Michigan State with, almost all of them actually, at LCC with, transferred to Michigan State. And we met a gentleman named Rudy Hernandez, who is working, I believe, still at Lansing Community College in the sociology department. He's a professor there, or he might be the director of the department.
So Todd, let's hear about the David versus Goliath story. What happened at Michigan State University 30 years ago?
Okay, well, all right. Sorry about that. It's yeah. So that's Rudy told us we should ask for Chicano studies, and we weren't really quite 100% sure about what that meant. What was interesting though is that when we asked for it, this Chicano studies or Mexican American studies, the university was very adamant that that would never happen. And I think that kind of surprised us all because it seemed like a very simple request. So what takes place over the next 8 to 9 years is really a student struggle that coincides with a community struggle in Lansing against racism. The student struggle also against racism, but is to push and force the university to create a Chicano studies program at Michigan State.
So, I have to stop you for a minute here because I'm thinking back. I attended Michigan State University myself, and I do remember the 80s. I graduated in 1986. So we're talking 5 years later. It looks like kind of the environment. I wouldn't say it changed because it was there when I attended as well. But obviously, this would you say was it the murder of this young man that kind of propagated this whole protesting movement, if you will, at Michigan State University, and to kind of have that voice to say, you know what, we need Chicano Latino studies at Michigan State.
I think it was the murder of Cipriano Torres certainly had an impact on us personally in terms of how we saw ourselves and how it was made clear to us that larger society saw us. I think it was the creation of the Julian Samora Research Institute at Michigan State in 1989. I think that had a real impact. I think the other thing is, Larry, to be quite honest with you, is just the number of Latino students from the time that you were there until the early 1990s really expanded, right? I mean, I think what really made this happen was that we reached a critical mass of students where there were enough students who were like, hey, yeah, we should do this, right?
Yeah. Because when I attended there, I remember specifically, I was one of 48 Latino students on campus on a campus of 48,000. So, I mean, that really tells you, how we were the minority there. And, we have this opportunity to see this film at Saginaw Valley State University on October the 19th. Tell me how this production, at SVSU, because it's more than just showing the film. How did that come about for you?
Oh, this was completely arranged by Daniel Sosa the third, who's actually one of the people that's featured prominently in the film. Danny was is a very dear friend of mine and was a student at Michigan State at the time. Met Danny through his dad, Daniel Sosa II, who was a longtime Saginaw City
councilman. Listen, Todd, we're going to go into a commercial break and we're going to come back and find out more about War of the Flea.
Okay.
Have you heard the news? This is Mike from Westside Decorating Center. We've expanded our showroom. I'm excited to announce that we now have designer area rugs in stock. Stop in today to look at the samples in our spacious new showroom. We have designers on staff to help with your flooring and window treatment projects. We can also help get your exterior paint and stain projects completed before it's too late. Fall paint promotions are now on our website, westsidedecoratingcenter.com, or visit us at 5789 State Street in Saginaw Township.
God, I'm so stressed. Our business is growing. We've got people all over now.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending Ooma and their all-in-one phone, video, and collaboration solution.
Ooma?
Yep. Switching to Ooma is a cinch. Just $24.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Ooma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Ooma. Smart communications for the smarter business.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
RocketGrabPlus.com. Why would you pay full price when you know that you can save money at RocketGrabPlus.com? Check out all of our deals going on right now from Wheeler's Restaurant, Frankenmuth Corn Maze, Third Gen Tire and Service Center, Daylight Outfitters, and Salon Blue. Half off? Yeah, it's true. And it's all at RocketGrabPlus.com. RocketGrabPlus.com.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
The rebound on Wall Street could continue this morning as stocks surge in the pre-market. This as investors wait for some key jobs numbers.
The August JOLTS report is out this morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, with the September jobs report out on Friday. Economists are expecting job growth, 250,000 jobs created for the month.
Fox's Maria Bartiromo. Shares of Rivian, the electric vehicle maker, rallying in the pre-market after announcing third quarter production rose 67% from the second quarter. The company also noted it's on track to meet its production goals for the year. Domino's Pizza also up, getting an upgrade from UBS, which says that concerns about slowing demand for pizza are overblown. And the European Union has added the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands to its tax haven blacklist. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Lillian Wu, invested in you.
On 9/11, 2,977 people were killed in the worst terrorist attacks of their kind on American soil. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been supporting America's heroes and their families ever since. Our nation's heroes, people who put their lives on the line for our country and our communities, need your help now more than ever. Join Tunnel to Towers on its mission to do good in their honor. Donate $11 a month at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, Trying to find a needle in a haystack? Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ziprecruiter.com/free. That's ziprecruiter.com/free. ziprecruiter.com/free.
It's time to play the WSGW Football Bucks Blitz Contest presented by Ben at Ruthmax. Right now, you can qualify to win the daily cash prize of $2,000 by entering this football word online at WSGW.com. The word this hour is zone, as in a zone blitz or a zone defense. Zone. This is an Alpha Media company-wide contest. Must be 18 or older to play. One winner chosen each day. Complete rules at WSGW.com. The Football Bucks Blitz Contest, presented by Ben at Rootmax on WSGW.
Welcome back. And I am Larry Rodarte, filling in for Art Lewis on the Art Lewis Show today. And we've got Dr. Ernesto Todd Morales, who is in Arizona this morning. He woke up at 6 a.m. to be with us to talk about his upcoming film documentary that's going to be shown at Saginaw Valley State University, War of the Flea. So tell me, Dr. Morales, and I'm going to call you that because I like the way it sounds. What David versus Goliath? That's kind of how the synopsis, how you're starting that out with. You're David, Goliath is MSU. Tell me a little bit more about what actually happened 30 years ago.
Well, I think that from an organizing standpoint, which is really the only way I am able to talk about it, and when you watch the movie, you'll see a lot of people talk about it in the same way. What took place was really an escalation campaign, in that the students were able to pick pressure points that specifically had to do with the university. It began around the Great Boycott, which was something that was happening at the time that's not happening anymore. And so a lot of the students had come out of the migrant stream, or their families had come out of the migrant stream. So this was something that was very important. There were a number of confrontations. Dolores Huerta was here at one time. It's a very famous grape throwing incident, well, at least famous at Michigan State, where students were throwing grapes at the president. It's not quite as spontaneous, or not quite as unspontaneous as it sounds. There, in 1996, students had a hunger strike. It was a week-long hunger strike that finally forced the university to capitulate to some demands around the Great Boycott. After that, Chicano studies had been a demand the entire time, but after that, the students really turned their attention towards that, and then again, began escalating in terms of their actions and the protests that they were undertaking.
So, we hear a lot through history about Cesar Chavez and his Great Boycott. And of course, Dolores Huerta, the great Dolores Huerta, who helped him form the farm workers movement for the migrant workers. And here we have in Michigan, Latino students who kind of take up that banner, if you will, to say, hey, you know what, we need to be listened to. Is the Chicano studies at MSU, was that kind of like the very first of its kind throughout the nation?
Oh, no. There were Chicano studies departments all over the country, and have been since the late 1960s. The first of its kind in Michigan.
In Michigan,
not even the first of its kind in the Midwest. The University of Minnesota has had a longstanding Chicano studies department. I think that one of the things that's really important, and Danny Sosa says this in the film, what kind of educational institution are you if you don't teach Chicano studies? And, really, if you look at the demographic growth over the last 50 years, in the sense that there are 42 million people who are Mexican American, the idea that we don't take the teaching of Mexican American studies or Chicano studies seriously in this country is it's rather shocking, honestly. I mean, it was shocking in the 90s. It's shocking in the 2020s.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Danny Sosa the third, who's in this documentary, but you also mentioned his father, who was the city councilman here in Saginaw for many years. What was his participation in this?
Well, I'm sure a lot of people who are listening who know Mr. Sosa know that he had a long history of Chicano activism, that he was one of the people that helped start, along with Apache Maiz and others, helped start the Brown Beret chapters here in Michigan in the 1960s. I met Mr. Sosa at a statewide rally that we had organized in 1994 in favor of in support of the Great Boycott. He came, he introduced himself, and he had his son with him, who started in the fall of that year. And so, I think after he came to Michigan State and he was working there for a while, Mr. Sosa really became an advisor, sort of a mentor, as a older person who had sort of been through these struggles already, and had seen how it was that the system dealt with individuals, who were making reasonable demands.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, when we talk about Chicano Latino studies at MSU, what does that program cover? So my listening audience can get an understanding a little bit more about that.
I think it's the last time I checked, it was still an 18 credit specialization. There is a PhD component, which I was also a part of helping to create in the early 2000s under the direction of Doctors Dionisio Valdez and Teresa Melendez. So the undergraduate component is a specialization, like most college departments. It looks at history, it looks at literature, and it does a little bit of theory. The PhD program that began in the early 2000s was actually the second PhD program in the country. The first was at UC Santa Barbara. They beat us by 6 months, but I am happy to say that Michigan State University did graduate in the person of Dr. Louis Moreno, the first Chicano Studies PhD in the world.
Wow. All I can say to that is Spartans will. Todd, tell me about War of the Flea. How did that name come about for your documentary?
So for my dissertation, I was reading a lot about national liberation movements, and I read this quote from a book by a man named Richard Tabor. The actual name of the book is War of the Flea, but he describes how the flea operates, in that they infest an animal or a dog. I think it was a dog that he used in his example, and that the dog is unable to kill the flea. But the fleas eventually drive the dog into submission. They drive the dog crazy. And what Tabor was saying is that this is the role of the organizer, of the activist, right? To be like the flea, inhabiting the large body of this, and to be agitating.
Yeah, I understand now. Can you tell me a little bit, like, what was the changing point that shifted the administration to bring forth, finally a Chicano studies program at MSU?
Well, they weren't going to do it at all. I mean, we had delivered our original demands in 1992 to interim president Gordon Geyer, who just recently passed away. And we had been working on it for several years. It was an action that took place in February of 1999 that finally sort of broke the will, I think, of the university administration, particularly President Peter McPherson and then Provost Lou Anna Simon, who's somebody that we dealt with for many years. Students went to the library. We had rented a U-Haul truck, and we went to the library, and there was probably about 35 of us. We checked out about 5,000 books from the library, which totaled about $250,000. And we put them in the U-Haul, and we drove away. And when they asked us why we were doing that, Rosa Salas, who was the speaker for MECHA at the time, said, if we can't read about our history, then you can't read about yours. The program was funded that very day.
Wow, isn't that something? And you mentioned MECHA, which is the student organization that I was a part of as well back in the 80s. So, I'm like really feeling the love here because, I experienced MSU in the 80s and I know what that was like. And I love Michigan State University. It's a great institution, but I actually see progression that has happened from the 80s until now. So I'm, really excited about this upcoming documentary that's going to be shown at SVSU, War of the Flea. We're going to go back into commercial, Todd, and we'll be right back with more on Dr. Todd Morales.
Michigan, are you getting the most out of your Medicare benefits? Annual enrollment is October 15th through December 7th, so call United Healthcare today. With the United Healthcare Medicare Advantage Plan, you get more from your Medicare dollar now, including better than ever dental, vision, over-the-counter, and prescription drug coverage. Call United Healthcare at 586-842-3770 today and speak with a licensed sale agent. Benefits, features, and/or devices vary by plan and area. Limitations and exclusions apply.
Who's backing Kim Coonen's bid for Michigan State House? Out-of-state radical groups that want to force their extremist policies on Michigan, including defunding our police. Don't let Kim Coonen bring their radical policies here to destroy Michigan communities and endanger your family. Kim Coonen doesn't stand with us. Coonen backs his out-of-state radical friends. But Timmy Beeson believes in representing Bay County and will always fight for us because Bay County is Beeson's home. That's why Beeson delivered life-saving benefits for people and businesses during the COVID pandemic, and why Beeson is now working to lower costs and stop the out-of-control inflation that's strangling our economy by reducing auto insurance costs and cutting taxes for families so Michiganders can keep more of what they earn. A hometown fighter working for our community in the State House. Timmy Beeson for State Representative.
Paid for with regulated funds by House Republican Campaign Committee authorized by Timmy Beeson.
Enjoy the best of yacht rock for the holidays.
So ladies,
the Blue River Band.
let me take a look at you now.
Same show, same night. Ambrosia.
How much I feel.
Saturday, December 17th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Tickets start at $32. On sale now at the box office or etix.com. Party and play with Little River Band and Ambrosia.
You're the biggest part of me.
Details at SoaringEagleCasino.com.
We're proud to make Pioneer Sugar for you and your family. Proud to be found in your kitchen, the heart of your home. And it doesn't really matter what you make with Pioneer Sugar, whether it's with our granulated white, light brown, or soft confectioners. It's the memories you'll make using it that will matter the most. Pioneer Sugar, pure and all natural, made from sugar beets grown right here. What could be sweeter than that?
Moments like watching my grandson steal second mean a lot to me. But after being diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, or MBC, which is breast cancer that is spread to other parts of the body, they mean even more. I take Ibrance, palbociclib.
Ibrance 125 milligram tablets with an aromatase inhibitor is for postmenopausal women or for men with HR-positive HER2-negative NBC as the first hormonal-based therapy. Ask your doctor about Ibrance and visit Ibrance.com. Ibrance may cause low white blood cell counts that may lead to serious infections. Ibrance may cause severe inflammation of the lungs. Both of these can lead to death. Tell your doctor right away if you have new or worsening symptoms, including trouble breathing, shortness of breath, cough, or chest pain. Before taking Ibrance, tell your doctor if you have fever, chills, chills or other signs of infection, liver or kidney problems, are or plan to become pregnant, or are breastfeeding. Common side effects include low red blood cell and low platelet counts, infections, tiredness, nausea, sore mouth, abnormalities in liver blood tests, diarrhea, hair thinning or loss, vomiting, rash, and loss of
On
appetite.
the next Markley Van Camp and Robin show, I guess we'll try to make sense of it all. That is a very, very difficult job. We will have fun.
Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. Weekdays at noon on 100.5 and 790. News Radio WSGW. From the Premier Kitchen and Bath Gallery Showroom and Design Center Studios. You are listening to 100.5 and 790 WSGW.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Good morning, everybody. I am Larry Rodarte, and I am filling in for Art Lewis on the Art Lewis Show this morning. And we are in the midst of Hispanic Heritage Month. And there are a number of different events throughout the area where we are celebrating culture, heritage of Hispanic Latinos. And today we have a guest who is Dr. Ernesto Todd Morales, and he has a documentary film that is going to be shown at Saginaw Valley State University on October 19th. And it talks about, or it depicts, Chicano Latino studies that came into play at Michigan State University finally around 1999 after a struggle where there was protests with Todd, Dr. Morales, as well as a number of different individuals that were a part of this. So, Todd, can you tell me a little bit about what was the motivating factor for you personally that got you so involved in, being an activist in our community?
There was one particular moment, Larry. It was when I first got accepted to Michigan State. I was there on Farm Lane at the bridge right in front of Erickson Kiva. And I was in a large crowd of people. And I looked around and I realized I was the only person in the crowd that wasn't white. And it shocked me. It really did. Because, I had just grown up a mile away from campus over off of Mount Hope, by the corner of Mount Hope in Pennsylvania. And that was not the world that I had inhabited. And so, I began to seek out other people who were like myself. And, it really made me question. It really did. It really made me question why it was like that. I never thought, even when I was in Upward Bound, most of the kids that I was in Upward Bound with were, Black and brown kids from Lansing. So that wasn't my experience of Michigan State at all. And it really opened my eyes to, how higher education in the United States operates.
Well, I'm happy to hear that, you have been so involved because there have been some throughout the years. We're talking 30, 40 years, since I was at MSU and you were at MSU, and, things have changed. And I guess I got to throw this question out there. And, in 2020, we had a racial reckoning in this nation. And it was pretty profound. And I wonder if you, Dr. Todd Morales, if you feel that maybe, it would have been easier for us or students at MSU in today's climate as opposed to back then, how in the 80s and 90s, it was a little difficult for people of color to attend a major university like Michigan State University.
I think that a lot of the things that we did forced universities around the country, not just students at Michigan State, but students at other universities. The 90s was a tumultuous time, one that is still, I think, being uncovered all across the country. This is really where we see the rise of a lot of anti-Mexican sentiment in its, contemporary form with Prop 187 and 209 in California, followed up by the things that were happening here in Arizona. There's a lot of pushback from students across the country. I think that has made access to higher education a little bit easier. But I'll tell you what has really done it is the demographic explosion. I believe that universities across the country, they're business institutions, right? And so as white student population dropped, which it has precipitously especially over the last 5 years, um, they have gone on and began recruiting markets. Now, I think that what's interesting is that right before the pandemic, Latinos were the largest incoming group of people on most college campuses across the country. But I think that if we look at their retention rates, that what we'll see is that it's the same old story. So universities have a long ways to go in producing welcoming and atmospheres for Latino students, Chicano Latino students on their campuses. But they want the money, and sooner or later, I think that they'll figure out how to make that happen. Part of what we were trying to do in the '90s was create that for our fellow students, so to help each other get through this 4-year process that we call the undergraduate education.
Yes, and I have to mention back in the 60s, there was even fewer Latinos that were attending Michigan State University, and the name Rosa Morales, as well as Daniel Sosa, our councilman, they were a group of students who were protesting back then in the late 60s for change, so that there would be more recruitment of Latino students coming to Michigan State University. And so, we have a history there, and Latino students or Chicano students, didn't stay quiet. And that brings me to this question for you. And it's an important question because of what we're talking about today. And that is, we have heard the terms Mexicanos, Latinos, Hispanics, and now we've got a new term, Latinx. It seems like we're always giving these names to kind of group us as a people. What is your thoughts in regards to feelings on the new term or any of those other terms that I've mentioned?
I mean, I think that part of the struggle that we have as a community is that we are stuck in this cycle of identity, right? And that as long as we are arguing about, or we focus or base our political expressions solely on this issue of identity, that we won't be able to really move beyond that, right? We are not able to actually claim a political space within the the sphere of the United States, because we spend a lot of time arguing with each other about whether or not we're Hispanic or Latino or Latinx. Latinx doesn't bother me. It's not a term that I use, but I understand why it's in existence. And I think that it is important to listen to people. In this case, particularly younger people. I know there's a large argument that this is coming from, from academia. And I think that partially is true. But there are also a lot of young people there who are really pushing the boundaries of what it means to be gender fluid. And I think that has to be respected, and that it must be embraced, right? Like, we have to really help people to be able to say who they are. In the 90s, we called ourselves Chicanos with an X, but the X was on the other end of the word.
Yeah.
And we replaced, the CH, the CH with an X. And, people lost their minds, man. They were like, how dare you do that? But I think that each generation, as Fanon says, each generation must, out of relative obscurity, discover its mission, fulfill it, or betray it. Yes. And I think that, we see what our mission is. They see what their mission is. Hopefully what it all leads up to is, political empowerment for our community and for our people.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go back into commercial real quick. Great explanation. Nicely said. We'll be back.
Some politicians drive me nuts. It's like the rules just don't apply to them.
Uh-oh, what now?
It's that Kristen McDonald rivet.
Is she one of those politicians who just spends and spends, making inflation worse?
Yes, but it's even worse with Rivet. She voted herself a pay raise on her taxpayer-funded salary.
Unbelievable.
And she was hiking her own pay while raising rates and fees for people like us.
We already can't pay our bills, and she's just making it worse. Only politicians like Kristen McDonald Rivet can get away with a scheme like that.
Worst part is, now she wants a promotion. She's running for state senate. Imagine what kind of damage she'd do if we send her to Lansing.
I'd never vote for a politician like Kristen McDonald Rivet.
Higher prices for us, higher salary for her. Say no to Kristen McDonald Rivet.
Paid for with regulated funds by the Senate Republican Campaign Committee, authorized by Annette Glenn for state senate.
At Wildfire Credit Union, our team will tell you that everything we do is for our members because it's about you, always.
Carl came in on Monday upset because his truck needed more repairs. I completely understand because that's his livelihood. He was ready for something new. So I took him in my office right away and I was able to approve him for an auto loan. He was very happy to be able to leave with that check in his hand to go pick up his vehicle. He even came back a few hours later just to thank me and show me his new truck. I love being able to turn around someone's day.
Knowing members by name, going the extra mile to help them save money, understanding when they really need help. That's Wildfire Credit Union. It's what we do every day. Find out for yourself. Call 800-227-2328. Click on wildfirecu.org or come by any Wildfire location to experience banking the way it's supposed to be, where it's about you, always. Wildfire Credit Union. Distinctively better. Member NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
Let's face it, credit cards are pretty much a necessity.
New tires for the car? Here's my card.
I order takeout, use my card. And most of us just accept the high interest rates credit cards charge as a necessary evil.
What are you going to do?
Get a low fixed rate credit card consolidation loan from Lightstream from $5,000 to $100,000 and pay off those credit card balances. Apply online and you could get your money as soon as the day you apply. The average credit card company charges over 19% APR. But with Lightstream, you can get a fixed rate as low as 5.73% APR with autopay and excellent credit.
Now I can pay off my high-interest credit cards and save money with a much lower rate.
Apply today at lightstream.com/radio and get an additional interest rate discount. That's lightstream.com/radio. Lightstream.com/radio.
Subject to credit approval. Rates range from 5.73% APR to 19.99% APR and include a 0.5% autopay discount. Lowest rate requires excellent credit. Terms and conditions apply and offers are subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/radio for more information.
News coverage.
Hurricane Ian.
The storm we have all feared.
A monster hurricane.
As you warm the climate, you should see more of the very high category storms.
News.
Dangerous signal from Putin.
We've seen this nuclear threat.
A spacecraft ramming into an asteroid.
300 Americans will be poisoned today and die because of fentanyl.
News coverage. Around the clock.
The commitment to America.
Putin's illegal annexation of parts of Ukraine.
News on WSGW.
Good morning and welcome back to the Art Lewis Show. I am your host today, filling in for Art, Larry Rodarte, and we have Dr. Ernesto Tar Morales, who is a documentary filmmaker. His film, The War of the Flea, will be showing at Saginaw Valley State University on October the 19th. And we have him here talking about the film. And I want to ask you real quick, Todd, how do you hope this documentary will influence other students of color as well as those who watch this film?
One thing I've learned through my own studies is that student movements, although almost always well-intentioned, are rarely ultimately successful. And I think that what we have here is an example of a student movement that was successful. But it was successful because it didn't limit itself to being a student movement, that it branched out into the community, that it accepted mentors and advisors off of campus. And it was able to really become part of a broader community effort. And if students don't take anything else away from this, I hope that they take that away. And a sort of a beginning understanding of what it means to run an escalation campaign, what it means to build momentum over a period of time. I really hope that students can see that, and I hope that they can see how to sort of duplicate these ideas in the movements that they're undertaking on their campuses and in their communities.
Yeah. Well, was it difficult for you? I know the passion is there and the love. Was it difficult for you to put this documentary together?
Yes. Yeah. Actually, to tell you the truth, honestly, Larry, I had to go into therapy in order to finish this documentary. And it was, I was stuck mentally. And I did some therapy. It's called EMDR. It's like a trauma therapy. And I know this might sound kind of crazy to people or whatever, but it was a big deal. And it really helped me to get some perspective on the film and to be able to really think about the things that happened externally, as opposed to always internalizing the anger that I had around a lot of the events that transpired.
Wow. Well, thank you. And I want to give kudos to you and to Danny and to all those students who helped make this movement possible at MSU and to bring forth this War of the Flea documentary. We're going to go into commercial again, wrap up the show, but it's been a real pleasure. Dr. Todd Morales, I call you Todd, and your real name's Ernesto, but you made something happen. And so kudos to you, to all those that were involved with this. Thanks, be right back.
Yeah.
I'm Jacob Hilliker, Bay County Road Commissioner. I believe we deserve more local road funding for the amount of taxes we pay downstate. We all know working people in Bay County have always had to shout a little louder to be heard in Lansing. That's why I'm here. I'm a proud union member, business owner, and I operate a small farm. I don't have time for the national partisan nonsense of the week. I'm here to do a job. Vote Hilliker. Paid for by Jacob Hilliker for Bay County.
Want to pay less for gas? Stop at any one of your local 26 Forward Shell convenience stores where you'll save at least 5 cents a gallon on every fill-up with Shell Fuel Rewards. Earn even more cents off when you make purchases in-store on some of your favorite snacks and drinks. Stack the savings, and you can regularly save 10, 20, 30 cents or more off each gallon of gas. That's Fuel Rewards and your area Forward Shell convenience stores. And remember, when you want to pay less at the pump, go forward.
RocketGrabPlus.com. The Vino Wine Warehouse is changing their name to Coven. And with that being said, this week's deal on RocketGrabPlus.com is for Coven. You are going to get a $20 gift certificate for their winter festival for only $10. Coven has over 1,000 retail wine items, 16 draft craft beers, and a full liquor section. Head to RocketGrabPlus.com right now to snag your deal. RocketGrabPlus.com.
The roar of our engines, the pump of our heartbeats, the pedal to our metal, the sparks that ignite us, the pistons that push us, the passions that drive us. From the feelings that move us to the places that pull us on the roads that unite us. With nearly 6,000 stores and over 17,000 auto care centers, Napa has America's largest network of parts and care, here to keep you firing on all cylinders.
Art Lewis here for WSGW, inviting you to explore America's last frontier, Alaska, from August 30th to September 10th, 2023. You'll fly from Detroit to Fairbanks for a start of a 12-day land and sea adventure. Ride the stern wheel of discovery as you learn about Alaska's diverse culture and rich history. Then it's on to Denali National Park for a tundra wilderness tour. From Denali, you ride a luxury dome rail car to Talkeetna and stay at Talkeetna Alaskan Lodge. The next day finds you driving to Whittier to board Holland America's New Amsterdam for a 7-night cruise. You'll see Hubbard Glacier, Glacier Bay, plus stops in Skagway, Juneau, and Ketchikan before sailing the Inside Passage to your final destination of Vancouver, BC. Past experience tells us this will sell out fast. To find out more, plan on attending a Zoom meeting with Colette Vacations Ed McKenna on October 5th at 3:30 p.m. Send me an email to receive the Zoom link. Send your request to artlewis@wsgw.com. If you can't make the Zoom meeting, send your address and I'll forward a brochure to you. Send now to artlewis@wsgw.com. Alaska is calling.
Welcome back. I am Larry Rodarte, filling in for Art Lewis. So there you have it. We have Dr. Ernesto Morales, who is the filmmaker, and his documentary War of the Flea will be featured at Saginaw Valley State University's Malcolm Field Theater Performing Arts at 7 p.m. on October 19th. Thank you so much, Dr. Morales, for being with us and bringing forth this War of the Flea documentary so that people can know the struggles at MSU and how we brought forth this documentary to, talking about Chicano studies at MSU. So thank you so much again. And It has been a real pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Larry. I just want everybody to know that Chicano history is Michigan history.
Yes. Thank you so much. We'll be right back.
From the Premier Kitchen and Bath Gallery Studios, WSGW, Saginaw, Bay City, Midland, WSGW FM, Carlton.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Indeed.com.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez in New York. The Supreme Court is opening day 2 of its new session, delving into a voting rights case in Alabama. Correspondent Jan Crawford is outside the court in Washington.
With black voter registration at historic highs, black leaders say Alabama is using redistricting to dilute the power of their vote and their ability to elect officials of their choice. The state is 27% black, but only one of Alabama's 7 congressional districts, which includes Selma, is majority black.
For the first time, the Supreme Court has 2 black justices, Ketanji Brown Jackson and Clarence Thomas. Almost a week after Hurricane Ian, the death toll has climbed past 100, vast majority of lives lost in Florida. Mayor Ray Murphy in hard-hit Fort Myers Beach says rescuers are still going door to door.
Lifting up houses, lifting up rubble, listening, sending dogs in. So what they're trying to do is to find the survivor.
Officials have been defending the timing of evacuation orders in Lee County, which came less than a day before Ian made landfall. North Korea has directed its anger over joint U.S.-South Korean military exercises in the sky above Japan. It's fired a suspected intermediate-range missile that flew over the country and splashed down in the Pacific. Joe Cirincione's expertise is nuclear weapons.
It's not a new military capability, but it's a new signal from North Korea. They haven't tested a missile of this range in over 5 years.
Harrowing schedules may ease for airline staffers.
Pilots were already granted at least 10 hours rest in between shifts, but it was not as much for flight attendants. Now, FAA Acting Administrator Billy Nolan makes it official.
They need just as much rest because flight attendants are the foundation of aviation safety's culture, starting with cabin safety.
This feels really good.
Sarah Nelson is president of the Flight Attendants Union.
This was a safety risk.
Airlines will have 90 days to implement the new rule. Matt Piper, CBS News.
Former football star Herschel Walker, who's running for Senate in Georgia, denies a report he paid a former girlfriend to get an abortion.
I can tell you right now, I never asked anyone to get an abortion. I never paid for an abortion, and it's a lie.
Walker on Fox after his accuser turned over a copy of a $700 check to the Daily Beast, along with a get well card from her ex. His campaign has former President Trump's endorsement. Stocks are taking off. The Dow up 768 in early trading. S&P up more than 104, building on yesterday's rally that gave the Dow its best day since June. This is CBS News.
You need to hire? Indeed is with you every step of the way, helping you attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Welcome to a Johnny Mathis Christmas.
Sleigh bells ring, are you listening?
Saturday, December 3rd at Soaring Eagle Casino. Johnny Mathis.
Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride.
Holiday classics and his timeless hits.
Chances are.
Tickets for the Johnny Mathis Christmas concert start at $44 and are on sale now at the box office or e-tickets.com. Johnny Mathis performing his legendary pop hits.
It's wonderful, wonderful.
And unforgettable holiday classics.
It's the most wonderful time.
Johnny Mathis with a full orchestra, December 3rd at Soaring Eagle Casino.
I get misty the moment you're near.
Spend part of your holidays with a legend. Tickets for a Johnny Mathis Christmas start at $44 and are on sale now. Johnny Mathis, Saturday, December 3rd at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
Like bones, your teeth lose density and become weaker over time, which can lead to tooth decay. And that can make your visit to the dentist feel like this. But if you want your dental visit to feel like this,
Try Crest Densify. Crest Densify actively rebuilds tooth density to extend the life of teeth by remineralizing enamel. Densify from Crest, the #1 toothpaste brand in America. Smile, Crest has you covered.
At EasyCater, food for work is our thing. Maybe that's why we get orders from 93% of Fortune 500 companies. So what's up with the other 7%?
Everyone, meet our newest employee, Susan. She has an idea that is going to revolutionize our food ordering.
Hi, Susan. So nice to meet you.
Unfortunately, she just gave her notice, and today is her last day.
I'm gonna miss her. Why don't all companies order through EasyCater? Who knows? Order 24/7 from over 95,000 restaurants on EasyCater.com. EasyCater, food for work. That's our thing.
Live from the 100.5 and 790 newsroom, this is WSGW News.
Sunny skies and 48 degrees at 10:05. Good morning, I'm Mike Percha. 3 other officers have been charged in a case where a state police trooper allegedly punched a handcuffed man in Saginaw. On March 28th, Vance Martin was arrested for suspicion of drunk driving. During the traffic stop, State Trooper Bram Schroeder is seen on both a civilian recorded video and police body camera footage, punching Martin in the face, then punching him 4 times in the head while Martin was handcuffed. The case was forwarded to the State Attorney General's office, which has charged Schroeder with assault and misconduct in office. However, the Attorney General's office has also charged Trooper Zachary Thibodeau and Saginaw police officers Justin Engelhardt and Dominic Vasquez with neglect of duty for not intervening with Schroeder in the incident. Visitors to the Saginaw Children's Zoo will be greeted by 2 new additions to the front gate area. Here's WSGW's Jonathan Dent.
2 large bear sculptures now watch over the front gate of the Children's Zoo. The first, an 8-foot-wide polar bear, sits in front of the gate, posed for photos with guests. Sarah Jury, who, along with her husband Michael, donated the statues, says it makes a great addition.
It's the perfect size. Right now, as we watch it, there's a family of 5 getting a photo op in front of the bear, and there will be many more.
The second, a 10-foot-tall brown bear, stands behind a flower bed near the gate. Each statue is made of more than 50,000 nails welded together and weighs nearly 1,000 pounds. There will be a formal dedication of the bears as well as a naming contest in spring of next year. Jonathan Dent, News Radio 100.5 and 790.
WSGW News Time, 10:07.
Are you ready for retirement? Well, Jason and Carl Kreiderman with Great Lakes Investment Advisors have a new book that can help make retiring easier. In Empower Your Retirement, they talk about how a well-thought-out financial plan can make the difference between just surviving and thriving in retirement. Using everyday language, this book explores how a simple process can help you cover all the bases of your financial life, including how taxes can affect your retirement and much more. Your finances are too important to leave to chance. Empower Your Retirement is written to help you understand the must-dos to prepare for the retirement you desire. Get your free copy of Empower Your Retirement by calling 989-848-1188. That's 989-848-1188. And for more on retirement planning, tune into Jason and Carl's radio show, Your Financial Empower Hour, every Sunday morning at 8. Firm provides insurance services. Investment advisory services offered by Great Lakes Investment Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor firm in the state of Michigan. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
WSGW News Time, 10:08. The weather forecast is coming up. About 100 nurses conducted an informational picket outside McLaren Hospital in Lansing yesterday. Nurses are upset with working conditions and staffing. Contract talks are ongoing. In a statement, McLaren's president and CEO said it was unfortunate the nurses chose an unoriginal and commonplace tactic routinely deployed by unions throughout the nation, considering today's challenging healthcare environment. Nurses at Michigan Medicine recently ratified a new contract that ends mandatory overtime while providing bonuses and raises for workers. Groups from Michigan continue to help Florida recover from Hurricane Ian. DTE Energy is helping to restore power. A branch of the American Red Cross is assisting shelters, and one Detroit-based restaurant is giving away food to the hardest hit areas of the state. Detroit Wing Company has a food truck based in Tampa Bay delivering free meals to displaced residents. Alex Merturi is the operator of the truck.
Detroit Wing Company is a community-based company that really focuses on the people. And, we saw the need that there were people out there that lost their homes and lost a lot.
Merturi says it took 6 hours to drive through the devastation on his way from Tampa to Fort Myers, the area he served starting on Saturday. The Detroit Wing Company truck will give away meals in Sarasota with plans to keep driving around the state as long as help is needed. The U.S. Supreme Court is taking up a case involving a deaf student in a Southwest Michigan school district. As the new Supreme Court term started yesterday, the justices agreed to hear the case of Miguel Perez, who attended Sturgis Public Schools, but only received a certificate instead of a diploma when he graduated. Attorneys for Perez filed a claim under the Americans with Disabilities Act after settling another under the Federal Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. The High Court will decide if Perez should be awarded damages for emotional distress. The district has urged the court to dismiss the case. WSGW News Time 1010. I'm Mike Percha.
Here's your WSGW weatherology forecast. High temperatures working up to 70 for today. We'll see a good deal of sun. Then for tonight, clear and calm, lows in the mid-40s. For Wednesday, still above average with a high of 74 degrees, a mixture of clouds and sunshine. Then for your Wednesday night, mostly cloudy, lows to 49. Thursday, do pick up a chance for some afternoon showers developing with highs reaching 70. Rain likely Thursday night, but drying out for your Friday. Much cooler conditions for your Friday, partly sunny, back to a high of 50. I'm meteorologist Michael Carroll with the WSGW weatherology forecast. Currently, 45.
Now, the only local radio talk show offering you the chance to ask your questions and express your opinions from around your block to around the world. The Art Lewis Show is on 100.5 and 790 WSGW and online, WSGW.com.
Good morning and welcome back. I am Larry Rodarte, filling in for Art Lewis on the Art Lewis Show this morning. What a great opportunity for me, and we're continuing on into the next hour talking more about education. It is so important. My next guest is Pete Kadens, Mr. Pete Kadens, who is bringing a powerful message to Saginaw to serve as the keynote speaker for Saginaw Promise's annual Power of a Promise Luncheon fundraiser on Thursday, October 27th at the Horizon Conference Center. Pete Kadens is an entrepreneur, philanthropist, and founder of Chicago Hope. As seen on 60 Minutes, his mission is to change lives, communities, and their economies by working to eliminate barriers to higher education. That's the bottom line. He says education is the single most powerful way to disrupt generational poverty. This hour, please help me welcome Mr. Pete Kadens to the Art Lewis Show. Hello, Pete. How are you?
Larry, great to be here. Looking forward to coming to Saginaw in a couple weeks.
I'm so excited to have you because, what a great movement this is for our Saginaw community, for Chicago, for our nation. Tell us a little bit about who Pete Kadens is, because your hometown is only 2 hours away from us, and you're making an incredible impact in Chicago.
Yeah, I'm a kid who grew up in flyover country in Toledo, Ohio, but was fortunate to have two not wealthy parents, but very educated parents. We talked about education around the dinner table nightly. It was a priority in our home. And I got the benefit of amazing education throughout my journey. And it was the force multiplier in my life. And so, I'm a guy who started 5 businesses, sold one of them to a Fortune 500 company, took another public, created about $7 or $8 billion in shareholder value across those companies, and just got really lucky. And when I think about what happened in my life, Larry, what I think is that I won in my life because other people lost. And that's a very hard thing to understand and to be self-aware about. But when I think about that, it's like, I don't want those same people to lose in the future. So, I can win or my kids can win. I want us all to try and win. I think a rising tide lifts all boats. So what I decided to do, I retired at the age of 40 after having a lot of good fortune. And what I decided to do is go back to the communities who suffered so I could succeed, starting with my hometown in Toledo, which is a really, undereducated community and an impoverished community. And then once I beta tested it in Toledo with my scholarship model, take it to a bigger market like Chicago. And that's why Hope Chicago has developed in the last year into a major organization here in the education space.
And how did you get Chicago Hope to come into existence? I mean, that had to be a huge undertaking. Give us a little bit about the background of that.
Yeah, so I started Hope Toledo with 208 students, and the goal, all Black, all below the poverty line, and the goal was to illustrate that if we invested in these kids and their families, that they could perform on par with their white suburban contemporaries. And I felt like if I could prove that then the data would support me doing something much bigger. Well, we did prove that. We're 3 years into the program in Toledo, and our students are retaining in 4-year colleges at roughly the same clip as their white suburban contemporaries in the wealthy school districts. Now, I would add one thing that, Larry, most people don't know, but there's a nuance to the programs that I've started in Hope Toledo and Hope Chicago, that we also send parents to college or trade school for free as well. And the reason we do that is because poverty is multi-generational. So you can't solve poverty with a one-generational lens. Now, I bring that up to say that the kids who go to college with mom or dad, mind you, it's not necessarily the same college. Kid could go to Ohio State and mom might go to a local 2-year community college. But the kids are going to school at the same time as mom or dad. Those cohorts are persisting at a higher rate than their white suburban contemporaries. So once I had that data, and I found the right leader in Chicago, Dr. Janice Jackson, who ran the 3rd largest school system in America, the Chicago Public Schools, and is a revered educator here. I paired the data and the success of what we were doing in Toledo with the right leader here in Chicago, and she built it for me, and we made it happen.
Wow, that is incredible. And you've gotten some great exposure on 60 Minutes, the great program. And you said that there on that program, there's a huge misunderstanding in this country that college is accessible to everybody. And no, it's not. Please elaborate on that.
Well, look, it used to be that college was so cheap. You could go and when I was growing up in the 80s, you could go to Ohio State for all in for like $9,000 a year. Now it's like $35,000 a year. So it's just like, it's become totally unwieldy, even for in-state public schools. A normal family cannot afford these schools, and the amount of financial aid or support from the public, from government is gone down. I mean, in fact, most states, with the exception of maybe last year when the stimulus money came in, most states are cutting dollars for public education. And so actually the government funding is going down. And while Biden's administration did, add some value by relieving some people of, college debt, that doesn't do anything for the kids who are going to college now. And so the cost of college has become totally out of control and totally burdensome. So what ends up happening is these kids take on a ton of debt, and if they can make it through, they walk away with $100,000 plus in debt, and even for a public in-state school, it's insane. This is not a path that is going to be successful for us unless we intervene and find ways to create cheaper alternatives, or in our case, free alternatives for our students.
And you mentioned that education, is the powerful way to disrupt generational poverty. And it seems like according to the 60 Minutes interview, seems like you found success. Is it working not only in the Chicago area, but in the other areas that you have also given money to for those students?
Yeah, it's working very, very well. I mean, we've increased college enrollment by like 50% in the schools we're in. In other words, we actually had our 1-year anniversary party for Hope Chicago last night, and there were some families in the audience who were scholars of ours. And to a person, every single one said, we wouldn't be going to college if it weren't for Hope Chicago. And so like what we're doing is we're stimulating people to enroll. Now that's, less than half the battle. Enrollment's not good enough. They need to complete. and then they need to get jobs that give them economic opportunity. But, we're taking the first step, crawl, walk, run.
Right.
And so we're getting the kids into college where they never were before at a much, much higher clip. And now we got to wrap services around them, like financial literacy, college preparation, life skills training, trauma-informed intervention, all these things we wrap around these kids to make sure that they have the love and care they need to graduate. And so, we're seeing great results in terms of enrollment, persistence, retention, all the things you want to see and what we expect we're seeing. And we believe this is going to be the model going forward.
Yeah, and Hope Chicago, that name in itself, because, when you watch the 60 Minutes clip, and I encourage anybody to look at this with Pete Kadens, 60 Minutes, it was pretty emotional for those parents, when they understood that they were going to receive money to go to school, not only their child, but themselves, who, that was hope right there for them. And it was so emotional. I was really taken by that. So we're going to go into commercial, Pete, and we'll come right back and talk more with Pete Kadens about Hope Chicago.
M&R Garage Door wants to remind you to get those home improvement projects done now before the fall weather hits. Now is the perfect time to replace that old garage door with an M&R door and finally get a garage door opener. Their pros can install a pre-painted, maintenance-free garage door that will work great and look fantastic for years. An insulated door will help you save on your home heating bills. They can get your existing door ready for winter with new rubber bottom and perimeter seals. They can professionally install or repair any brand residential and industrial door or opener. Remember, at M&R Garage Door, service is their specialty.
It could be the best years of your life. In retirement, you'll finally get to do what you want to do, but you have to plan for it. Start by tuning into Mindy and Nolan McIntosh of McIntosh & Associates every Sunday at noon for Wealth Michigan with the McIntoshes. Make retirement the best time of your life. Tune in Sundays at noon for Wealth Michigan with the McIntoshes. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Brunches, chef specials, date nights, happy hours. Moments like these are made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine.
My taste buds have missed this.
So let's savor this moment. Keep the dining out going. Keep the togetherness going by keeping your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Find your vaccine at michigan.gov/COVID vaccine. Sponsored by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and the Michigan Association of Broadcasters.
COVID-19 moves fast, and now you can too. If you feel symptoms, even if they're mild, you should test fast. Test positive and at high risk for severe COVID-19? Then act fast with authorized oral treatments that can be taken at home and must be taken within 5 days from when symptoms begin. COVID-19 moves fast, and now you can too by asking your healthcare provider if an oral treatment is right for you. Learn about a treatment option at treatcv19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
I'm Neil Cavuto, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stocks surging at the open on Wall Street, building on yesterday's rally. Among the big movers, airlines, cruise lines, Boeing, and American Express. Sheryl Sandberg has just made her first major donation since stepping down as Facebook parent Meta's chief operating officer last week. She's donating $3 million to the American Civil Liberties Union to fight state abortion bans across the country. And Micron is building a new computer chip factory in upstate New York, according to the New York Times. The memory and storage solutions company is spending up to $100 billion over at least the next 2 decades to build the factory. The announcement comes as the passage of the Chips and Science Act of 2022 allocates $52 billion to encourage more domestic semiconductor production. Shares of Micron up on the news. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Lillian Wu, invested in you.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, beat the largest timeshare company in federal court and has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare information guide absolutely free. Call 800-393-1881. That's 800-393-1881.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY. ACY.
Do you know what people see when they Google you? Search engines don't always get it right. And when they're wrong, it's your reputation on the line. So what do you do when you don't agree with your search results? Call Reputation Defender at 800-401-6681. Reputation Defender by Norton is one of the most trusted names in online reputation repair. We have over a decade of experience in fixing people's search results, and we can help you too. Using cutting-edge approaches, Reputation Defender pushes unflattering information down to lower pages of your search results, where few people ever look. We also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, letting you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. You owe it to yourself to take control with Reputation Defender. Visit www.reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-6681 for free advice on your situation. 800-401-6681.
It's time to play the WSGW Football Bucks Blitz Contest presented by Ben at Roofmax. Right now, you can qualify to win the daily cash prize of $2,000 by entering this football word online at WSGW.com. The word this hour is catch. Did you see that catch from Amon Ross St. Brown? Catch. This is an Alpha Media company-wide contest. Must be 18 or older to play. One winner chosen each day. Complete rules at WSGW.com. The Football Bucks Blitz Contest presented by Ben at Roofmax on WSGW.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Good morning. I'm Larry Rodarte. I'm filling in for Art Lewis, and we've got Pete Kadens and his higher education vision. He's going to be the keynote speaker for the upcoming Saginaw Promise, the Power of a Promise. They're going to have it at the Horizon Conference Center on October 27th, and we've got Pete to give his final words because I know you got to go somewhere else. So tell me, what will you tell the Saginaw attendees this month at the Saginaw Promise fundraiser?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the thesis, Larry, behind our work in Chicago and Toledo. I'm going to provide them some of the same data points that we talked about here, but go into more depth. And I'm also going to encourage the members of the Saginaw community to think about prioritizing their giving. And if you want to solve issues around violence, if you want to solve issues around life expectancy and longevity, if you want to solve issues around mental health outcomes, those are all, in my opinion, most of those are symptoms of the broader disease. And the broader disease is, from day one, many of our children are inequitably educated. And if we start day one with equitable education and give these kids hope that they, irrespective of what their parents did right or wrong, irrespective of criminal histories in their families, whatever it might be, that they too can go to college and seek higher education like their white suburban counterparts, that, we can change not just educational outcomes, but societal outcomes and improve our cities forever and attract more employers. I mean, the fact is, in a city like Toledo, Ohio, which only about 16% of the population has a college degree, one of the reasons why employers won't go there is because it's an undereducated and underskilled community. So, we have to start with education, and then I think it'll be kind of create the ripple effect that we're looking for in our community. So I'm gonna try and motivate the crowd to think about investing in this is the best investment they could make in their community, investing in the untapped resource of our youth by giving them access to education. That's what we're doing in Toledo and Chicago, and I think it's going to work.
Thank you so much. Hope Chicago. There you have it. Pete Kadens, he's going to be the keynote speaker for the Saginaw Promise fundraiser on October 27th. Thank you so much, Pete, for being with us today, this morning.
Thanks. Looking forward to being in Saginaw in a few weeks.
All right. And we're going to come back with Deb Sanchez, who is the director of Saginaw Promise, to tell us a little bit more about this great endeavor. We'll be right back.
At Wildfire Credit Union, our team will tell you that everything we do is for our members because it's about you, always.
I just had a conversation with a member who lives near Traverse City. Mildred has been a member with Wildfire in some way, shape, or form for over 50 years. Wildfire is her preferred financial institution. Same for her daughter who lives in Connecticut. Neither one of them has ever stepped foot in any of the Wildfire branches. Yet they both receive a level of service to rave about. It just goes to show you that it doesn't matter where you live, Wildfire is here for you.
Being the trusted resource for your finances, delivering marvelous experiences no matter where you are. That's Wildfire Credit Union. It's what we do every day. Find out for yourself. Call 800-227-2328. Click on wildfirecu.org or come by any Wildfire location to experience banking the way it's supposed to be, where it's about you, always. Wildfire Credit Union, distinctively better. Member NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
We're proud to make Pioneer Sugar for you and your family. Proud to be found in your kitchen, the heart of your home. And it doesn't really matter what you make with Pioneer Sugar, whether it's with our granulated white, light brown, or soft confectioners. It's the memories you'll make using it that will matter the most. Pioneer Sugar, pure and all natural, made from sugar beets grown right here. What could be sweeter than that?
From the very beginning, and every workday since, at every shift and every individual effort, we carry a common purpose, a common cause. It's a duty we proudly honor, knowing behind every product we build is your faith in us, dedicated to the craft of gun making, dedicated to your freedom, equality, security, and the promise of this great country. Smith & Wesson, empowering Americans. Learn more at smith-wesson.com.
What did 9 out of 10 people who died from COVID have in common?
They were 50 or older.
And if you have a condition like heart disease or diabetes, your risk is even higher.
COVID vaccines lower the risk of death.
Get your updated vaccine now. It could save your life.
We can do this. Find updated COVID vaccines at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
I'm Tamron Hall. Doesn't your family deserve the best? Eggland's Best Eggs, classic, cage-free, and organic, give you and your family more delicious farm-fresh taste, plus superior nutrition. Compared to ordinary eggs, Eggland's Best provides 6 times more vitamin D, 10 times more vitamin E, and 25% less saturated fat. These are no ordinary times, so why choose an ordinary egg? Only Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
The WSGW Broadcasting Studios are sponsored by the Premier Kitchen and Bath Gallery Showroom and Design Center in Midland.
Welcome back. I am Larry Rodarte filling in for Art Lewis today. And education has been our topic. And we just had Pete Kadens for Hope Chicago telling us about his amazing program to fight generational poverty with education. And my next guest in studio here today is the director of the Saginaw Promise. She's a great gal, a longtime friend of mine, and her name is Deborah Sanchez, and she is at the helm of Saginaw's scholarship program that since 2012 has awarded over $1 million in scholarships to over 600 students. That's in our area. Since its formation, the Saginaw Promise has seen high school graduation rates increase, dropout rates decrease, and when hope is present, dreams and goals flourish. So let's welcome Deborah Sanchez to the Art Lewis Show. Good morning, Deb.
Good morning, Larry. Thank you so much for having us on the show.
Oh, it's so wonderful. You know, it's exciting. It's got to be a really exciting time for you because Pete Kadens is so dynamic. He was on 60 Minutes. He has done some wonderful things by, really changing the lives of the over 30,000 students and their parents. It's not just students, but their parents. And we talked about it on the last show. And tell me, what is it for you working with Pete Kadens and how this fundraising effort is going?
Well, it's very exciting. We became aware of Pete. I saw him on a news program, and then one of our board members saw him on 60 Minutes and made contact. And that's when we spoke to his director and asked if he was available to speak. And we had a program and we explained our program. And at that point we were put together and Pete agreed to come and visit Saginaw and share his message. And really what he's doing is bringing inspiration and bringing that outside voice, that person from another community who's saying what we've been saying, but supporting and saying, this is what we're doing in Chicago. Education is important. That is the base of change. And he had Hope Toledo before that too.
Yeah. And Saginaw Promise, has given over $1 million, $1,072,000 in scholarships to 609 students in the area since 2012. So that's a 10 year time frame, a decade. And I remember when this program started, and you kind of came and took over the helm of it in the last, 5-6 years?
Actually, it's going on 8.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And through that time, the pandemic and all. So I know it's been a little bit difficult, but is this the first time you're coming back as a fundraiser where you have someone from the outside, a big guest coming in since the pandemic?
Well, actually, let's see. With our last one, yes, you're right, because we had the we had the lieutenant governor speak last year. And we also had President Gavin from Delta College speak as well. So yes, both regional and statewide. We've had outsiders from before the pandemic, but this is the first having someone come in.
And this luncheon fundraiser, I know in the past it's had like Magic Johnson. He has given his time, and those of us that were there were really inspired as well by the great basketball player from Michigan and all. But Pete Kadens, he is somebody who is kind of in the Midwest. He's from Toledo, Ohio. He has seen what happens in his community, and he's spreading his wealth and his knowledge, his education for the betterment of students across our areas. And we're talking, Hope Chicago is the big one, but he's also given to other communities, and he has seen where it has worked. How do you think this is going to go over for Saginaw?
I think it's going to be inspirational. We have, when you think about what they're doing with Hope Chicago and you see what we're doing in Saginaw, yes, it's different. We're on a smaller level, but that inspiration and that desire to impact change is still there. And we have donors, we have partners who also believe in what change and what post-secondary education represents. It is an agent of change. If you can get students and you can get families talking about going on to school, whether it's a skilled trades, whether it's community college, whether it's university, you're going to see life change. You're going to see community impact, because it's not only impacting the life of that student, you're impacting who they interact with, where they live. And that change is just going to have a ripple effect, because we're not talking just Saginaw. We're talking about impact from Saginaw to our surrounding communities in the Great Lakes Bay region. And I think even Pete touched on it too. When you have education, you're going to have outside businesses looking to come into your community.
Yes.
And that's important because they see an educated workforce. And so if we can present the workforce and we can educate our students and get them to have that desire and realize that it's not just them trying to get that education, but there's an organization that will help give you that start, with a scholarship. And if you allow me, I'd just like to say that, if we have students who are going to a community college, if they receive no other funding, we will fund their entire tuition for that 2 years, tuition and mandatory fees. So then if they decide to go on to a 4-year school, they've got that first 2 years paid for. And so that's really important. And if you're going to a 4-year school, we're giving a certain amount, about $1,200 a semester. We're just about to increase that level to that $1,200, and I think we're going to go beyond that too in the future.
Well, I want you to slowly say what you just said in regards to those first 2 years, because that's really important. And anybody who realizes and recognizes this and hears this, that's something major. Say it again.
It's extremely important, knowing that if a student elects to go to a community college, the Saginaw Promise will fund up to 60 credits. That's getting you to your associate degree. And so if you receive no other scholarships or funding, we will fund that entire amount. If you do receive some other funding as a last dollar organization, we will fund the balance of what it takes to get you to that associate degree level. And we have had scholars, Saginaw Promise scholars, who have come back and shared with our audiences at the Power of a Promise and other events that they attended a community college. And that allowed them to go on to a 4-year school debt-free. But they went on and they just had to pay for the last 2 years.
Wow, that's awesome. Saginaw Promise. And where hope is present, dreams and goals flourish. And we had talked about that the graduation rate has increased and dropout rates have decreased. Tell me what you have seen in the 8 years, your tenure that you have been there with the Saginaw Promise.
I think I'd like to start out with partnerships. First of all, with the Saginaw Public School District and our other schools that are in the area, There's been a recognition and an awareness of the Saginaw Promise and our mission. There's also been an acceptance to allow us to come in and promote the promise, to share resources. I mean, we're out there doing financial nights, senior planning nights. I've done tailgates for homecoming just to share information, and parent conferences, you name it. We've been allowed to go into the schools and share our information. And so those partnerships are so important, from the counselors to the teachers to the leadership. Then our donors. We went from having an empty page of donors because people didn't know. And there have been people who had verbalized to earlier board members who said, you're not going to be around in a year. And so there was no one on the page, to all of a sudden now having an overflow of a page of donors and partners in the community, people who truly believe, as we do, that education is a significant and impactful change and can make a community change.
Yes, and that's what Pete Kadens talked about, and he's going to talk about at the fundraiser at the Horizon Center on October 27th. He is the keynote speaker, and he talked about eliminating barriers to higher education. And of course, we know that, funding for college students can be difficult at times, especially these days. We're living in precarious times, and it's amazing to me to see, and I'm so happy that the Saginaw Promise has continued, because I remember when it started, and I think a lot of people were kind of confused. And I know the Kalamazoo Promise was in existence at that time. We're talking 2012, and here we are 10 years out now, a decade, and it's very successful. So what would you say has been that factor that has really made the Saginaw Promise, so successful now?
Well, I think we have our board members, their credibility, our leadership at the Saginaw Public School District and other educational leaders, and our partners and donors. I think as an organization, and I'll give you an example. I remember speaking to a banker, and they had just made a donation to us, and he said something to me. He said, early on, there was a question, are you even going to be around in a year?
Yeah.
He said, you have been around now, and you've set that path. And so people know that you're here to stay. And I think the support, we've had our donors grow in numbers, and they continue to grow, but just that belief and that support that they have in education. And as you say, hope, and making that change. We're excited about that and what we present to families and to students, and bringing that message that post-secondary education is a door opener. That is the thing that is going to keep them thriving and looking at openings and opportunities.
Well, I want to give my listeners the opportunity to hear about who is Deb Sanchez. Because like I said, I've known you for a number of years. I knew you before you were involved with the Saginaw Promise, but man, I'm so happy and excited for you, because this has really been powerful, to be able to be at the helm of this program that has given over $1 million to so many 600 plus students in the Saginaw area. Tell me, who is Deb Sanchez?
Larry, I think at the base of why I do or what I've done in my career, I really remember thinking years ago, I was with a Fortune 500 company, and I was out in California. I'd been transferred there. And I remember thinking, I'd like to do something where I can have an impact on a community. And, being someone who'd been transplanted to another community, there wasn't really that connections. And then I came back to Michigan to marry my husband. And all of a sudden, I was being approached and came in contact with nonprofit organizations. And it's not enough to just be at the helm of a nonprofit organization. You have to get involved. You have to volunteer yourself and be involved in other organizations and work. And through that, I've just always wanted to make a difference.
Yeah, it's definitely not a 9 to 5, right?
No, it's not.
Yeah, I want to tell everybody though that you are the daughter of Manuel Sanchez
And Gloria.
Sanchez, and you come from a long line of family members who are entrepreneurs in the Saginaw area, from a barber to a publisher who started her newspaper in the Detroit market.
Yes.
Dolores Sanchez is your tia, your aunt.
Yes, she is.
I mean, so wow, and our families have gone back way. Your grandmother was a comadre of my grandmother, and so we're talking way back. There's always that connection, and so it's really powerful to see what you're doing and your contribution, because that's what we talk a lot about on Mi Gente on Air on my show, is the contribution of Latinos in our community. And Deb Sanchez here, she's sitting right next to me, and she is promoting the Saginaw Promise fundraiser today, where they're going to have the keynote speaker, Pete Kadens, and his higher education vision. And it's so powerful. And I want to encourage anybody to attend this event on October 27th at the Horizons Conference Center, plated lunch and program. But we're going to go into commercial right now, and we're going to come back with the fabulous Deb Sanchez.
For almost 20 years, Linex has been the only place to go for quality spray-on bed liner. But did you know they also offer rust-proofing and undercoating?
Their exclusive process will keep your new or used vehicle protected.
The guys at Linex have the only wax-based rust-proofing and military-spec undercoat to ensure years of protection.
In fact, all new vehicles protected will get a lifetime warranty, no yearly touch-ups required.
And because the rust-proofing process is wax-based, you won't have any long-term dripping or mess to clean up later. Rust-proof your car, truck, or SUV and protect it year-round.
Linex is located on Wilder Road in Bay City.
Give them a call at 989-671-9820 or call them at their Grand Blanc location, 810-695-9000.
Remember, your new car, truck, or SUV gets a lifetime warranty with no yearly touch-up required.
Again, the number in Bay City is 989-671-9820 or in Grand Blanc, 810-695-9000.
I'm Jacob Hilliker, Bay County Road Commissioner. I believe we deserve more local road funding for the amount of taxes we pay downstate. We all know working people in Bay County have always had to shout a little louder to be heard in Lansing. That's why I'm here. I'm a proud union member, business owner, and I operate a small farm. I don't have time for the national partisan nonsense of the week. I'm here to do a job. Vote Hilliker. Paid for by Jacob Hilliker for Bay County.
Save 11% off everything at Menards. Honeywell Home Wi-Fi smart thermostats keep your home's temperature comfortable throughout every season. Personalize your Wi-Fi Color Smart programmable thermostat to fit your decor. The bright, easy-to-read touchscreen makes for simple operation. View the daily forecast, save endless amounts of energy, and control it all with your smartphone. Save 11% on all Honeywell thermostats now at Menards. Good through October 9th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're speaking another language. Like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right. And they're designed by real language teachers, so you learn how to have real-world conversations, things you'll actually use.
3 weeks. It's incredible. After 3 weeks, I'm on vacation in Paris, having a conversation in French.
There's all kinds of ways to learn. Use Babbel's podcasts or games or videos. You can even join live classes with a language teacher.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
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 Babbel. Évidemment.
Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Do you know what people see when they Google you? Search engines don't always get it right. And when they're wrong, it's your reputation on the line. So what do you do when you don't agree with your search results? Call Reputation Defender at 800-401-6681. Reputation Defender by Norton is one of the most trusted names in online reputation repair. We have over a decade of experience in fixing people's search results, and we can help you too. Using cutting-edge approaches, Reputation Defender pushes unflattering information down to lower pages of your search results, where few people ever look. We also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, letting you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. You owe it to yourself to take control with Reputation Defender. Visit www.reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-6681 for free advice on your situation. 800-401-6681.
Blake Corum hesitates, makes the man miss, and he's going to walk into the end zone.
The Michigan Wolverines are back on the road to face the Indiana Hoosiers live Saturday morning at 11 on 790 News Radio WSGW.
Welcome back. Welcome back. I am Larry Rodarte, and I am filling in for Art Lewis today on the Art Lewis Show, and it's always a pleasure. And I've got my guest here today, the director of Saginaw Promise, Deborah Sanchez, and we're talking about the power of a promise, the luncheon fundraiser that's going to be happening on October the 27th at the Horizons Conference Center, and they have plated lunch and program and VIP reception with Pete Kadens following the program. And Pete Kadens was on our show just in the last half hour, and he's very dynamic, and they've got a really good program scheduled for all the participants. And I want to talk about those who want to go and attend this event. Deb, tell me how they can go about getting online and signing up for the power of a promise.
Yes, thank you. What they can do is they can go onto our website, Saginaw Promise, and simply go to the events page, and you'll see you can download the information to send in a check. Unfortunately, this year we don't have an events page due to a software change, and so people can't charge their tickets online. However, you can telephone 755-0545, and we will be happy to take care of that. Just ask for Saginaw Promise, and we will make sure that we can take care of any charges for tickets. Or as I say, you can send in your checks for those tickets. And we do have two rates. One is $95 for general public, and for nonprofits and governmental, there's a rate of $65 per ticket.
All right. So tell me, the fiduciary is the Saginaw Community Foundation.
Yes.
And students who may be interested in getting this scholarship, they can go in and apply to them. Tell me about the benefit of that.
Oh, it's wonderful. When I wasn't on the board yet, but I was a volunteer. I started out on the committees, and I remember we approached the community foundation, and we asked, instead of having two applications, which the students had to complete at that time, if they could add some questions that we needed added, could we then make that change? And then they would only need to complete one application. So we require our students to complete the Saginaw Community Foundation scholarship application, because it's not only allowing them to submit the information they need for the Saginaw Promise application, but they're also reviewed for the 100+ other scholarships that the Community Foundation has, which is wonderful.
Yeah, that's really a plus. I mean,
it really is
killing two birds with one stone there, and it's just positive for the student. So, we have listeners on the live stream here today, and we've got Jennifer Marie. She says, "So true. Thank you for speaking on this and all the work that you do."
Thank you.
She's talking, probably in regards to with Pete Kadens and you and the work that's happening here for this fundraiser. And Renee Martinez, she's from Frankenmuth. She says, "Hello, Deb. Good job."
Thank you.
And so you're getting your little fan base there, Deb Sanchez.
We appreciate the support, and back at you, because it takes a community effort to do what we do.
Yes, and we as a community, we need to be inspired by the grassroots efforts of the Saginaw Promise, as well as Hope Chicago, to transform a community and the lives of students in our area. It's so important. And like Pete was saying, they are also helping parents to go to school, get educated as well, because as he said, it's a generational thing sometimes, education, where if a student hasn't graduated, maybe the parent hasn't graduated either. Have you seen that here in Saginaw? Has that been the case at all?
Well, I think that we're really beginning to talk more about that. I attended a Michigan Promise Zone Association. There was an association formed 5 years ago, and actually 6 years ago. And what that does, it just brings us all together to talk and share ideas and best practices. And one of the things we talked about was looking at generational change, generational educational change. And I mentioned that we had Pete Kadens coming, and I reminded them of what he's doing with that. And one of the questions that I actually posed to an organization that's affiliated, the Michigan College Access Network, is there something that they have where they could list all of the scholarships and the work path educational scholarships that they have currently in one place that we could place on our website? Because this would be for adults, whether it's the Michigan Talent or it's, looking at different pathways, those various programs, so that parents could go on our website and see that there are also opportunities that they can sign up for. There are some scholarships that are available 21 and older, some 25 and older. It depends, but, to have that in one place would be excellent. So they're looking at that too. They're looking at coming in with something that we can then place on our website. But yes, I think that I think there's a lot of merit to that.
So for any parent out there at this time listening to this program, tell me, what is the criteria for somebody to get a scholarship from the Saginaw Promise?
For a student, they must reside in and graduate from a high school in the Saginaw Promise Zone. Saginaw Promise Zone consists of the cities of Saginaw, Zilwaukee, Kochville, and that area of Buena Vista that's been designated to the Saginaw Public School District. Buena Vista's school district was dissolved, and it was divided between Frankenmuth, Bridgeport, and Saginaw.
Wow. Okay. So there you have it. We're going to go back into commercial, and we're going to wrap up the show with Deb Sanchez talking about the Saginaw Promise and the power of a promise.
Do you have Medicare questions? Confused by all those TV ads? There are options available to you now through December 7th that you didn't have before. Medicare Choices of Saginaw will have your questions answered by attending a free Medicare seminar at the Freeland Sports Zone on Wednesday, October 12th or October 26th. Starting time is 11 a.m. with free refreshments. Reserve your space. Call 989-899-7820 today. Medicare Choices of Saginaw. Again, 989-899-7820. It'll be the best call you ever made.
Choose the proven performance of the Roundup Ready Extend crop system, featuring high-yielding Extend Flex soybeans and the exceptional weed control of XtendiMax herbicide with Vapor Grip technology. Elite genetics, triple herbicide tolerance, flexibility that delivers results, backed by 25 years of innovation. That's the Roundup Ready Extend crop system, the system of choice. XtendiMax is a restricted-use pesticide. Always follow stewardship practices, all pesticide label directions, and check with your state pesticide regulatory agency for specific restrictions in your state.
I think farming picked me. I didn't pick farming. I'm not afraid to try something new. It's my farm, my family, and our future. My Channel Seedsman gets that. I get access to innovative products with personalized advice backed by data to maximize my yield potential. With Channel, I know I'll prosper for years to come.
Define your future at channel.com/future. Read and follow pesticide label directions, IRM, grain marketing, and other stewardship practices. Copyright 2022 Bayer Group. All rights reserved.
RocketGrabPlus.com. The Vino Wine Warehouse is changing their name to Coven. And with that being said, this week's deal on RocketGrabPlus.com is for Coven. You are going to get a $20 gift certificate for their winter festival for only $10. Coven has over 1,000 retail wine items, 16 draft craft beers, and a full liquor section. Head to RocketGrabPlus.com right now to snag your deal.
RocketGrabPlus.com. News coverage, talk shows on WSGW, the news you trust around the clock. This is CBS News.
Primary day has arrived.
This is WSGW News.
Fire crews responded to a gas leak in Midland this morning.
The WSGW Morning Team Show.
Celebrity chef Alton Brown. What is his greatest tip? Read the recipe.
Oh, yes. Follow the directions.
Yeah. Mark Lewis.
Open phones for the remainder of the hour, whatever you'd like to chat about, 989.
It's the Farm Show with Terry Hinney.
A mostly sunny good morning to you. I hope your day is going well.
Mark Lee, Van Camp, and Robbins.
Unfortunately, we could do this part of news every day.
Sean Hannity.
I care about my country. I care about my family.
It's the Evening Roundup with Ann Williams.
Good evening. I'm Ann Williams. The city of Saginaw wants to hear from
Tom Sullivan.
I don't want you to forget about 1 year ago. I'm not forgetting.
The Ramsey Show.
10 years from now, 20 years from now, which of these decisions are we going to be glad we
News coverage, talk shows on WSGW.
Welcome back, and we're wrapping up the Art Lewis Show today. I've got Deb Sanchez from the Saginaw Promise with me, and resident-based scholarship. Tell me about that, Deb.
Yes, it's important to stress that the Saginaw Promise is an economic initiative, but it really is based on residency, where the students live and where they graduate. So they must graduate and live in the Saginaw Promise Zone. Again, the cities of Saginaw, Zwaukee, Catchville, and that area, Buena Vista to the Saginaw Public School District. If you live in that area and you complete the Saginaw Community Foundation scholarship application and you complete FAFSA, those are our requirements, you will get a scholarship. If you need us for tuition and mandatory fees, that will be there. So it's a really easy and a very important scholarship to apply for.
Well, thank you so much, Deborah Sanchez with the Saginaw Promise. It's been a pleasure to have you on the Art Lewis Show today, as well as Pete Kadens, who's going to be here on October the 27th at the Horizon Conference Center, as well as Dr. Todd Morales in our earlier hour. It has been a pleasure, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to education endeavors here in our community in the Midwest. And until next time, I will see you, and please listen to Mi Gente on Air on WSGW at 8 p.m. on Sunday. We will see you again next week when I fill in for Art on October the 11th. Adios.
From the Premier Kitchen and Bath Gallery Studios, WSGW, Saginaw, Bay City, Midland, WSGW FM, Carlton.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Liberty Mutual.